The first thing you notice about this parlor is that the furniture is much smaller and lower to the ground than any of the other furniture that you've seen, because this is the ladies' parlor. You also notice that there's no back to the sofa. Now, again, that is a very pretty silhouette, but again, by now you know it's not about being pretty, it's practical. You see, back then, ladies wore hoop skirts, and the hoops extended quite far. And if one woman sat on this sofa with her knees forward, only one person could sit on the sofa at one time. However, if they sat diagonally, they could loop their hoops over the back of the sofa and loop their hoops over the front of the sofa, and two of them could sit here simultaneously and have an interesting conversation. So the backs of the sofas were cut out to accommodate those hoops. This was the room that Mrs. Kelton would use in the mornings, oftentimes to sit at her desk, and this secretary pulls out into a desk, and she would sit here and do her accounts, plan her menus, do her correspondence. Because you see, Mrs. Kelton did not cook, clean, or do laundry. She had servants who did all of that. Actually, she did cook. About September, maybe early October, she would go into the kitchen, take the secret family recipe for Christmas pudding, and make the Christmas pudding. And she was done. She had cooked for the year. And after that, she would come back to her ladies' parlor. And on Wednesday, she would oftentimes sit here and wait for her visitors. If you came after 3, she would offer you tea. Offering anyone tea before 3 is very rude. It says they're too fat. So she would never do something like that. Now, this became very important for the Underground Railroad. You see, it was thought that the Keltons might be part of the Underground Railroad. So bounty hunters were oftentimes keeping an eye on the house. And on Wednesday afternoons, what they would see were very well-dressed ladies coming in to have tea with Mrs. Kelton. And like most men of the time, they dismissed the women as not being any too bright. They actually thought that women's brains were physically smaller than men's. And even if they were bright, they certainly could never keep a secret. So they paid no attention to those ladies coming and going. They should have. Because these ladies were not talking about who wore what to which social event. They were talking about where Mr. Kelton needed to send a wagon, where the runaways were in town. Those ladies had been all over town all afternoon, and they could map out where the bounty hunters were that they had seen. So by the end of the evening, Mr. Kelton basically had a map that showed him the best direction to go if he were taking runaways from one location to another. All of this information